Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Streaming Media Connect. We're barreling through yet another really great day of programming here, put together by Steve Nathans-Kelly, our producer. I am just your modest host, Evan Shapiro, your Media Universe cartographer for Streaming Media Connect 2024. Thanks for joining us for this panel, which is called Targeting, Measuring, and Scaling Connected TV Advertising. I think about this all the time, as you might know if you have ever read my newsletter, Media War and Peace. And we were just having a really good conversation prior to the panel walk-on about what's happening now in TV, connected TV advertising, especially in context of Walmart buying Vizio today. That was just announced today. So I'm sure that'll come up because we were just chatting about it. Thanks, everybody, for coming. As Steve's been saying in the chat, if you were the first to name the song and the act that was just playing as we were doing the walk-on, you'll win a $50 gift card from Amazon that Steve will award to, but you have to be here to win it. So I think somebody's in there. He's got to stick around. And he said he's committed. And if you come to 2 or more sessions during Streaming Media Connect 2024, you will automatically be entered to win an OBSBot Tail Air AI-powered 4K PTZ streaming camera. Really cool thing. You'll be notified after the event. Also, put your questions in the Q&A. That's why it's called Q&A. Put your comments in the chat. Also in the chat, look for bios and other links for cool information there that's going to be talked about during the panel. In the chat, Steve's about to put a link for Streaming Media NYC, which is a cool event that we're throwing here in New York City at the Intercontinental Hotel. I am curating it and hosting it along with Steve, and it's going to be really cool. The agenda is at the link in the chat. You can see there's all these different kinds of tracks and sessions. We're still looking for panelists, so let us know if you want to be on a panel or in a session. And if you register now, I think Steve just gave you a code for an early bird discount of 25% on all passes for that conference. So see us there in New York. I think that's everything. Oh, by the way, one last thing. All the sessions that we're doing all week will be on Streaming Media's YouTube channel in the next few days. So look for them there. So without further ado, a really important conversation at this moment in time as we enter the new front and upfront season, targeting, measuring, and scaling connected TV advertising. I'm going to bring our moderator, Chris Paff, to the stage. Chris Paff of Tech Media. Did I say your name correctly, Chris?
You did, Chris Paff.
Okay, as someone
Absolutely.
from Philly who calls, or Cherry Hill, whose name is Shapiro, I take that stuff seriously. Have a great panel. Good luck, everybody.
Big ups for Evan Shapiro. Thank you to Steve. I'm Chris Paff, your moderator from Chris Paff Tech Media. And we, as Evan said, have an amazing panel here today. The topic of targeting, measuring, and scaling connected TV advertising, of course, couldn't be more timely. And yes, the new upfronts are coming. And we have 5, count them 5 panelists. Let me first bring on the first panelist, Anissa Stylen. She's the VP of Media and Distribution Marketing with Vivo. Welcome to you, Anissa. She joins us today from Brooklyn, correct?
Hi, Chris.
Yes.
Great to be here. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Second panelist we have is Jack Mullins. He's the SVP of Advertising Sales with Atmosphere TV. Jack joins us from a very rainy LA. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you, Chris. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you. Third panelist is Jennifer Monson, who's the VP of Ad Sales with Fubo. She joins us from New York City. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you. Fourth panelist, Tim Ware, SVP of Programmatic Sales and Revenue with Crackle Connects. He joins us from Greenwich, Connecticut. Welcome, Tim.
Hello, Chris. I didn't realize the F was soft. Paff.
It's okay. I do accept the F as well, but we pronounce it Paff. It's okay.
You're too kind.
Nice there we go. Good to be. And last but not least is Mark Lowney. He's a senior consultant with Hub Entertainment Research, and he joins us from Maplewood, New Jersey, not far from me. I'm in the media ghetto of Montclair. So let's dive in. Let's dive in and talk about that big news that we were talking about, as Evan said before the panel started. Walmart buying Vizio for $2.3 billion. Vizio stock is up about 16% on the day. I believe Roku is down, and so are some of the other folks who are in this space. Let's start with you, Mark, since you are on the entertainment side, and get some other thoughts on this. What does this mean for those who are watching our panel and looking at the scaling and targeting and measuring of CTV advertising? What do we think this means both now, today, and for the next year in CTV advertising?
Yeah, what I wanted to kind of discuss this in the context of Amazon recently
adding an ad-supported version of their platform as well. So now the scale of those two competitors now is just, it's great, obviously, for advertisers themselves, who have been, over the last 10 to 15 years, seeing the ability to do mass reach in a reasonable time frame has just disappeared from many of their most common ways of reaching people. Now you've got tremendous reach between Walmart's retail locations, Amazon's huge footprint. Our data suggests that roughly 6 in 10 of their subscribers are going to accept advertising. So immediately, right out of the gate, they've got scale that's going to surpass many of the other ad-supported streamers. So you couple that with the ability to seamlessly purchase what you've just seen, and I think the metaphor that I saw was tornado, and that was just Amazon. So now we've got two tornadoes entering into the marketplace around the same time.
Yeah.
It's going to change everything.
Yeah, I think, but what's interesting though is that there's so much research out here about where we're going with CTV advertising. Everybody from IAB to Group M looks at the growth this year. Jennifer, you're in an interesting position with Fubo, but also you've been around the block. What do you, when you look at Walmart and Vizio? I mean, I see so many sectors growing, but what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think it's huge. It's huge for the market, and the data that they're going to have is going to be tremendous on viewers. And I think that's so important for advertisers now, is trying to get that data with the cookie being degraded. So I think we don't even fully understand what the impact could be. But going back to your question about CTV growth, we're seeing tremendous growth. Gen Z is interacting and spending more time with CTV than any other generation, and I think that's going to be huge for Walmart and Vizio as well. And we see advertisers really following that audience and that growth. They're shifting more budgets into streaming because they want to get that data and that business outcome for their campaigns.
Yeah, Tim, how do you view this? Because again, we were sort of joking earlier about the fact that it wasn't too many years ago that we were all saying retail is dead. But when you look at all screens and you look at all sort of channels and devices, it makes sense. I mean, but I want your specific take on this.
Well, thanks, Chris, for what it's worth. Every member on this panel and anyone in CTV deals with one or both of those partners. And I think Vizio is well known. They went through the whole class action when they were capturing the double opt-out, and with Inscape, their data play have really kind of perfected that decisioning. If there is there's no perfection at this point in time. We'll get into that. But when you introduce then Walmart Connect, and there's been a lot written in the last 12 months about retail media networks, and Walmart Connect is, I don't know if they break it out in earnings, but I think it's around $500 million business. That's, it's phenomenal to see how that data is aligned. And I think someone might have mentioned it, and Nessa might have been you, that they have some pre-existing business. So I'm assuming that, Vizio is probably, they're both buying a lot of each other's supply right now for their respective. So it's great. I mean, I think it's all boats rise with the tide. Obviously it's formidable. Amazon needs some competitors. I think a lot of people probably counted Walmart out about a year ago, but now it's game on. And
exactly. And sort of the last great American television manufacturer, Vizio, it's a great story end to end. But I still look at this from the standpoint of where this can go in the not too distant future. And Anissa, I mean, you're with Vivo, which has been around now for almost 15 years and keeps reinventing itself. And I curious as to your take on this from just from your professional background as well as from Vivo.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the question. I think from our position, like you said, we've been around for 15 years. And so we were there when YouTube started, and we were there when mobile started, right? Like we were looking back at old decks and it was like, wow, from desktop viewing to mobile, and that was so big. And now we were ahead of the CTV change a few years back, and we're really proud of the network what we've built here. But I think what we have to step back and realize, and this is a perfect example with Walmart and Vizio, is that CTV is not a one screen experience. It's really a two-screen experience. We all sit and watch television with our phone, and now having the ability to buy directly off of advertising, it's huge, right? And I think this gives Walmart a leg up against some of its other competitors, but I also think it brings a whole new light to the way that we can experience advertising in the television space. It's already been shifting that way. There's already interactive ads. I think this brings a layer of competition and encouragement to everybody to evolve the way that advertising is becoming on the television screen.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that, because I think that layers of interactivity, and we don't want to get too deep on the technical stack, but we're working with MuseMe out of Berlin, which is bringing a new interactive layer for this kind of shopping. This is something that we've all been waiting for. And Jack, for those who don't know, you're with one of the more fascinating companies out there that has this interesting kind of out of home, shall we say, space that people mostly watch you not in their homes per se. I mean, from a billboard perspective, from an interactive perspective, I would think that this might be great for you guys as well. But I'm curious as to your comments on Walmart Vizio.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, so those who aren't familiar with Atmosphere, we have lit up screens outside of the home. So we're the largest streaming TV service that is built for outside the living room. No content is really built to be viewed outside of the home, and we saw that gap and created a better consumer experience to be able to watch screen when live sports aren't on. If you don't like live sports, what are you watching when you're in a venue? But to your point, Chris, I come from Triad Retail, who originally repped Walmart.com. So I was in retail media, dating myself 10 years ago when nobody thought that was a real thing. And when I was at Walmart.com, is when cookie behavioral targeting started. And folks and video game advertisers come to me and say, hey, can we layer on some behavioral targeting to find people on Walmart.com that are looking to buy video games or who have researched video games? And I would say, why would you do that when you could just go to the video game section of Walmart.com, keep it contextual? Fast forward, I went through the whole programmatic thing. So I was selling audiences. And then now I'm in this CTV, interesting new CTV space. I think that, as was mentioned a few times already, I think with the deprecation of cookies, maids being stifled as well, I think this gives Walmart a really good leg up, because now that Vizio data is now first party for them, as opposed to third party that everybody gets access to. The walled gardens keep going up. And you also have to think about a lot of advertisers focus, most advertisers focus on outcomes. With data and those signals, you can now start increasing your measurement with those Vizio screens as well. So I think it's a great play by Walmart. I have friends on both sides of the business, Walmart Connect and Vizio. My texts have been blowing up for the last 2 weeks about this. So it's interesting. It'll be exciting to see how it all nets out.
Amazing timing. Yeah. And to that end, of course, you mentioned where you were, say, 10 years ago with Walmart.com. I believe that was right around the time that Amazon bought Twitch for $1 billion. So let's not forget the full arsenal that, say, an Amazon has. Oh, yes, Whole Foods, and you go on down the line. But I do find it just a fascinating play here, because there'll be new levels or new conversations around addressability and personalization. And sometimes I think those phrases get overused. But when we talk about scaling and measuring, and where the creative is, and the creative side as well as media, I'm just curious, again, what your take is on that. And Mark, I'm going to throw it back to you for some comments on that with respect to addressability.
Yeah, one of the things that I look forward to, and I've had this conversation many times with Howard Schimmel, over the last 10 years or so, we've talked about how we often hear that the promise of addressability and data is hyper targeting and finding all those hard to reach audiences and really high CPMs to reach the million plus investable income households. We look at it as, again, going back to reach, which becomes increasingly hard to get. The promise of an OEM data set is that I can know that your household hasn't seen any of my ads on linear TV in the last 2 weeks, and I can target you to extend my reach. I can also cap my frequency. And while it's going to be great to be able to sell, maybe you get a $200 CPM for this really rare audience, but by definition, that really rare audience is very small. So the volume of your sales, even at a $200 CPM, probably wouldn't be as much revenue for you as if you could, go to Pepsi and say, okay, in a month, you're not reaching 20% of households on linear TV. Let's target that 20% for you. That's like 20% of everyone who buys software.
And that's a great place for us to, I think, to talk about where we see these dollars shifting in terms of scaling and growing CTV advertising. I mean, Jack, I have to believe that things have been a lot better for you guys in the last, say, 2 years than they were in the previous 2 because of the pandemic. But I think I want all of you to weigh in on this. I mean, is this one of the touchstones of a move toward greater focus on CTV in general, but certainly advertising? I mean, don't you think that anybody who was looking at PowerPoint decks or being bugged about putting more money in CTV is now saying, yeah, we're starting a CTV division at such and such, cookies and crackers company or whatever. I mean, talk to us about that.
I think that taking a look at what viewership is compared to what actual ad inventory is an important thing, right? Viewership may be going up, but is ad-supported viewership going up or not? So that's one of the big things we talk about a lot here at Atmosphere is we are fully ad supported. There's no opt-in for ads free. We're in businesses while people are on their customer journey. So it's an extension of what you're already doing in home to get people while they're outside of home with their wallets in their pocket,
right,
and in their everyday journey. So yeah, I think inventory is the biggest thing to think about, right? Like, so, and I'm sure Mark and Tim have all the data points on what's going on in regards to viewership. 20% of ad inventory during the heat of linear days, and now we're around approximately 3% with CTV. So, and obviously, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Well, I mean, absolutely right. That's one of the important trends that we've seen, and it's shifted a lot in just the last 3 years, is people sitting down and defaulting to not a set-top box, even if they have one, it's to the smart TV menu, which is going to lead you into whatever apps you've installed on your TV, and many of those are going to be ad supported. So we see that trend as something that's going to increase the inventory out there, just from people kind of bumping into that content that they wouldn't have if they turned on the set-top box first.
Right. And Anissa, I want you to talk about FAST, because to me, this has been a tremendous discussion that we've had over the last few years. We've seen the growth. We've seen some brilliant moves that way. I think it's not insignificant that the recent Paramount earnings showed that Pluto had more viewers than Paramount Plus. Now, some of us may say, well, duh. But honestly, that's a big deal. Anissa, talk about what Vivo's been doing with FAST and how that relates to everything we're talking about here.
Absolutely. FAST is what is really the baseline and the pillar in our CTV advertising strategy. And I think it is where the viewership is building and where it's going to shift as well from an ad supported perspective. I think there is a lot that's happening right now in the FAST space in terms of like a tipping point. There's a lot of channels. Some people are saying it's turning into the old linear experience. There's going to be a lot of consolidation. You're starting to see that a little bit already. Mark, to your point, you turn on the television and you're using that television's free ad supported streaming television. And so you're getting content right away, and it's really easy for consumers to sit back and say, great, I don't need to search any longer. I have all the great entertainment at my fingertips, and it's free. I didn't have to subscribe. I didn't have to do any work for it. So that's where Vivo plays and where we've had a lot of success. Music is huge on television. It's where music videos were born on the TV, and that's where they belong. And we see a huge
But not on
viewership
MTV
there.
anymore.
And
You
not
gotta
on
go to
MTV, right? You got to go
Vivo.
to Vivo. And so you can turn on your Pluto TV, you can turn on your Samsung TV Plus, you can turn on Vizio, and you can find all of our streaming channels. I think it's just become easier for consumers to go back to that engaged but leaned back experience where they know that there's entertainment, but they don't have to be so specific and saying, okay, I'm going to turn on Netflix and I'm going to turn on this one specific show. They can feel like entertainment is coming to them in that fast experience.
Yeah, and again, this is really a tremendous moment to talk about that, because we can talk all day about the global growth of FAST as well, but here in the U.S., we're still the leaders in FAST, and
Yep.
I find it interesting, in terms of where you go with AVOD and SVOD, and of course, Jennifer, you're in an interesting position on this panel in that regard. Talk to us about what you see in terms of FAST and what that changes in terms of your overall model and your thinking.
Yeah, for the record, Fubo has music too, so you can come to us for all your favorite hits. John had to do a plug there, but
Well
yeah,
done.
thank you. We have millions of people coming to us throughout the year for different. Obviously, we're sports first streaming service, so they're coming to us for MLB games, for their local coverage on their RSNs, for the Olympics, for those. And also entertainment and other different, we have all different networks. But FAST is definitely one of our fast, no pun intended, fastest growing segments. We're seeing viewership really, really rise in that space. We have two of our own O&Os for FAST. We have Fubo Sports Networks, and we also, you probably have heard of him, Ryan Reynolds. He launched a little FAST channel with us called MEC, or Maximum Effort. And we've just seen huge growth. FSN had 40% growth year over year in 2023. We have exclusive sporting events. People are coming to it. We're seeing a lot of young viewership. We have Hispanic speaking FAST channels. So it's just a huge growing category for us. And it really kind of, for a long-term strategy, reduces the impact. People can come to us for AVOD, they can come to us for our different premium packages for free. So it really is a great overarching strategy to kind of harness the consumer.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I subscribed to Fubo for several years when you had the La Liga deal, and I still support Barca, but yeah, it's a great experience. Tim, Crackle is kind of the OG. It was originally called Grouper, and you guys have seen the rise and fall of certain brands, but it's interesting to me that you guys have brought in so many amazing experiences. I mean, from a programming and from an ad perspective, I mean, what has worked for you guys in the last year, and in the wake of where things are going? I mean, what's sort of your crystal ball in terms of FAST?
Well, going backwards, I would say incremental reach, and I think that's been like the touch point here. Original programming has fueled that. That goes back to the OG days of comedians in cars getting coffee and Seinfeld, and we have a library of different original offerings that have had a lot of success with Crackle. I would go back to what Jack was saying too. When you start talking about, is there enough CTV supply? Again, I think 18 months ago, I was a little more concerned. Now, when we look forward at it's not only the fast supply, it's conditioning that new user, and the research that we look at shows that behavior is starting to replace that. I don't want to say person falling asleep on the couch and get into continuous play, but there's that linear that's going to be almost like.
But we love that person. We know that.
But I did want to mention, obviously Crackle's the original gangster. Let's, not too long ago, we were all buzzing about Netflix and its ad-supported tier. Disney's now enforcing passwords. Consumers are going to, I did a $6 Peacock before the football game, and guess what? The ad load looks really good. I'm promoting a competitor here, but my point being that unilaterally you're conditioning users to understand this, both in the fast live stream like new and the legacy linear, and then you have the AVOD, and then the SVOD hybrid. It makes for a perfect storm. So the supply is good. I would go and start, when you start thinking about us, again, incremental reach sounds somewhat mundane, but it's still really, really important. And just to beat down the Pluto point is, Pluto is so much of that Paramount offering. Everybody, the Paramount Plus is sexier, but ultimately it's incremental reach. So, Crackle benefits. I'll plug Independent Streaming Alliance in a couple of more questions, but a lot of the independent streamers, Vivo is a part of that group.
Yep.
That help fill vital gaps as users start to consume.
Exactly. And for those who don't know, this Independent Streaming Alliance was announced in late 2022, really just as FAST was starting to explode. And if someone wants to put the link in there for folks, that would be, yeah, if you can do that, that would be great for our audience. Really, and because if you're not familiar with it, you really should be. I think that the phrase incremental reach really does get to the heart of this level of discovery. And, I don't want to leave out even the manufacturers. We talk about Samsung, we should talk about LG, TCL, Hisense. I mean, these are the folks who really pushed. And by the way, since Crackle's still part of the Sony universe, Sony Bravia was really the first true kind of connected TV for those who are keeping score at home. So we're really talking about 14 to 15 years or so of innovation when people really did not, and Steve Nathans Kelly has beaten you to it there. So please look in the chat section for Independent Streaming Alliance. But there's a lot of innovation to go around that I want to continue talking about. Jack, again, I mean, are you talk about where things are going in terms of your out of home, because I'm wondering how much of this is on mobile, and just talk about this from the standpoint of the device side, because I think it's important for us to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I mean, we're 100% on connected TV. So the benefit for business is it's free advertising supported, it's a free advertising supported television, and it's plugged in either via a Apple TV that's commissioned strictly for us, and we also have our own box. We like to call it the Gavin box for those Silicon Valley fans out there. But when you have 65,000 plus venues, swapping out those devices takes a little bit of time. Again, it's that equates to, if you look at the measurement from our partner, the People platform, who used to be Epicenter Place-Based, who also powered Nielsen Place-Based, that leads to around 130 million unique viewers per month. So it's a great extension to in-home CTV. So you get in front of the folks while they're in-home, then they're out in their everyday journey. They're at the gym, they're at their doctor's office, they're at the bar, restaurant. So when we think about targeting, again, I alluded to this earlier, when we think about audience targeting, coming from the media mass of the world, the pioneer in DSPs, that's a whole nother section we can talk about. But that took a lot of the art out of the art and science of advertising. I've always, as I alluded to earlier, always believed in the contextual relevance of advertising. Do you want to get in front of a fitness enthusiast that's downloaded, it's identified as a fitness enthusiast because they downloaded 10 workouts on MyFitnessPal, or someone who's burning through their sneakers at the gym? So we really lean hard on that in real life data point. Obviously, we can ingest first party data. We can also layer on third party data, but it's always in a one-to-many scenario. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, but that's, I'm surprised more people don't do that, to be honest with you. I mean, I could see Vivo at any number of places, at clubs. I think that, that this gets to the heart of where CTV goes, because it is fun, it is simple, and free is, yes, there's a reason why people are cutting the cord. And better content experience on CTV is certainly one of them. But the shopping side of this, I think, not to get too caught up in the whole Walmart Vizio, but from the standpoint of where the data goes, I mean, Mark, what are you seeing in terms of those connections with brands that may or may not be retail centric and CTV?
Well, you know, if they're not retail, and if you're Amazon or Walmart, and it isn't that seamless path to purchase, it's still about brand building. It's still about, I've mentioned it, and I think Tim and Jack, actually everybody probably has mentioned incremental reach. So the promise of connected TV is still, it's reaching people that you don't normally reach, being able to build your brand, because it's still television. And so it's still the big screen. It's still amazing stereo sound and a gorgeous HD or 4K picture. So for an advertiser like a luxury car or something like that, connected TV it's just like TV has always been, except now you're reaching people that you can't necessarily reach otherwise. And I just also wanted to add, I didn't want to talk over anyone before, but we found with FAST users, it was one of the more surprising results, because we went in with a hypothesis that it's people who maybe don't watch a lot of TV. They want something that's free. It turned out it's the opposite. It's actually people who they tend to have more subscriptions overall. They spend just as much per month on television as people who don't watch fasts. It's people who really like television. So, again, it was mentioned earlier, the whole lean back experience. I think, Tim, maybe it was you that mentioned that. That's also what we see, is the people who really like television. So it's an attractive audience. I think that's another advantage of connected TVs, is that the people you're reaching there via FAST or via an app on the TV, it's an attractive audience, and it's an audience you're not finding anywhere else necessarily.
Yeah, I find the Trojan horse aspect is always been amazing. The idea that people would say, if I have to logicalize between subscriptions, well, what do you have on your TV? You've got a hell of a lot there. If you've got Samsung TV Plus, that's, I can't remember at last count, but I think it's like 538. And that's what's within that purview. It's not what you can roll. I mean, it's just, it's staggering. It's absolutely staggering and wonderful. But again, I think that as Evan alluded to, we have new upfronts coming up. I would expect to see more people pushing in this direction. And Jennifer, I'm just curious as to what your feeling is between 2023 and 2024. And oh, by the way, strikes are over in Hollywood. I'd like to think that people are looking beyond that as well. And the mention of Ryan Reynolds, yeah, you've got some really wonderful brands out there and individuals who have struck fast channel deals. I mean, I think Conan O'Brien was the first. But Jennifer, your take from the kind of new upfront crystal ball.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of content out there. It's going to be keywords are going to be discoverability, personalization. Buying an AI company, Fubo bought an AI company, Molotov, in 2019 to help kind of follow consumers on that demand curve. Because I think that's going to be key. With so much content and so much different options out there, really having a personalized service that's delivering content that you're interested in. So whether it's sports, entertainment, or something else that you may not even be aware of, is going to be very, very important. I think an investment in content and production is always, going to be king. Having content that makes you stand out and that consumers want to see. Sports obviously has been through the strikes, has been a constant. We're seeing, huge ratings and interest in women's sports. Women's sports have been hugely popular with our audience. And so I think that will be very, very important going on. And I think in terms of innovation, specifically with CTV, outcomes are going to be very important. Really making sure that you're getting that bang on your buck for your media plan, that you're reaching that right audience, that you're going to be in premium content with a premium audience is going to be very important. And being able to really prove it through. So that commerce to content connection, kind of bringing it back to the Vizio Walmart also, is going to be really important. I think there's going to be a lot of innovation and exciting things happening in that space.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Molotov. I met those guys in Paris 9 years ago, and they're still trying to figure out what to do in the U.S. and they found their way. And I think that's an interesting dovetail into looking at where different aspects of machine learning and AI can make a difference here. And I want to hear contrarian points of view or conflicting points of view. But of course, there's so many players out there, 12 labs, and in the video space, even in the US. I'm just curious what your take is in terms of how that aids personalization, certainly the advertisers as well. Tim, what's your thinking there?
With AI and the personalization?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think it's optimization's been there. I mean, both from a discoverability. I mean, with Sony, when Sony was wholly owned Crackle, you had the benefit of the doubt because you did have that Sony Pictures library. As programming gets more original across the board, I think it dovetails really well to the need for interoperability, which is something that I think we're all we're all working on fast and furiously. But it also is necessary for transparency, which is another thing that the buy side's going to command ultimately as to further enable the shift, the migration of budgets. So, but the discoverability is going to be queued. I know Google and Android PAL SDK has some unique elements, and I don't know if it's related to that acquisition you referenced, but the whole point is content metadata programming needs to start with the CMS and get spread throughout, and that helps the ad decisioning, it helps the ad measurement, and it obviously helps the customer experience depending on the platform, right?
Yeah, yeah. Anissa, again, I think this would be interesting to hear what your take is there, because I think there are a lot of opportunities on the Vivo side, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been using, various different forms of AI in terms of how we organize our catalog with over 800,000 premium music videos and how we pair those with an advertiser's campaign, right? So we have the ability to understand the mood and look and feel of a music video and match it to an advertiser's look and feel and mood of their ad and provide a really unique contextual alignment that's perfect for a consumer to experience when they're lean back watching their television. And that only becomes more effective for an advertiser when they're out there with their big budget TV commercial dollars, right? Like TV advertising is a brand's storytelling platform. And with the depth and diversity of our platform paired together with that opportunity, it really creates lightning in a bottle, or catches lightning in a bottle, for the advertiser to pair what their mood is with the music video that matches that, for the seamless entertainment experience for the consumer to lean back and get engaged with without feeling an interruption. And I think that's another really key opportunity in terms of where we're going with CTV and programming. We can create seamless ad experiences that don't feel as disruptive as they may have felt back in the linear days. I think I saw something on eMarketer about the inventory on CTV is actually going, or overall television inventory is going to decline over the past 5 years because linear is going to be dropping out as CTV and FAST grows. And so we still will have a booming industry, but the ad experiences and the formats that we're delivering will be what's boosting the revenue and the dollars in that space.
And that's that just leads to so much potential innovation. And Jack, I think that the out of home side is probably undervalued right now given where we might be. So I find that interesting for whether it's a second screen experience or what levels of interactivity you can get to. So yeah, just curious if you've got some more insight on that.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that we have is because we are the benefit is we're creating a new channel, and the challenge we're creating a new channel. So you've got buyers who are very binary when they think about buying, and for them CTV means in living room as opposed to being on a connected TV with checking all the boxes. So for us, it's a real big education piece for folks. And I love the creative conversation because, we say we're audio optional, we're mostly audio off. But if you think about all video assets from different advertisers, whether it be Vivo or Fubo, it's a lot of the creative now is built to be audio off because you don't have automatic audio on anymore. So even when you watch the Super Bowl, there were ads that you watched that were really moving. Kia, shout out to Kia for their ads as well. Like it was just like, I mean, I got a little dusty watching the Super Bowl because of the creative that they put together, and it was based on just visuals. So I alluded to it earlier as well. I'm a big believer in the art of advertising. I remember commercials. I seek out commercials that I love. I share commercials.
So you go to iSpotTV.tv a lot.
Way too much time spent on iSpot.
I do too. Come on, I think there's an opportunity for some fast channels just that way. And by the way, a little bit of a shout out to Fremantle is probably long overdue. I used to bug them years ago, like 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago. You got to grab your live, buzzer came out of that. There's a lot of opportunity just even in ads. But I think in terms of CTV creativity, I just see the sky's the limit in terms of what you could do with your pods, with interactivity. And Mark, I just would love your input here, just even from a personal side, what you see in terms of the opportunities for that level of AI-driven or machine learning enabled creativity in ads.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we've already seen scripts that can be written by AI, and the iterative process will certainly make it better. I still think we're a long way off though from because I think, Jack, you're talking about liking advertising so much. When it's really good, it breaks through with something new and exciting and unexpected and surprising. And the nature of machine learning is that it's based on historical, it's based on, it puts together kind of combinations of things that have worked in the past. Now you may get an alchemy from that, but I think we're a long way from that being able to be done as easily as just a creative human being can do, who can come up with a revolutionary kind of idea pretty quickly. But yeah, I think it'll just get better and better and better with the more that it's used and iterated. I also think there's going to be a lot of subtleties in using AI to improve measurement that we're not necessarily thinking of yet, because again, it's the first party data that we all have is machines talking to other machines. And if you're trying to target individual viewers, there are going to be subtleties of that you may not be able to gather from household level data, machine level data. So I think that while AI holds much promise in better measurement, I think we're still going to have panels, randomly selected panels for the foreseeable future. And the Nielsen's and the ComScores are still going to be in there, because those are going to need to be inputs into any sort of machine learning, is what the people individually are doing, not just what the servers and the TV screens are doing and as they talk to each other.
That also begs, more calls to action, more levels of interactivity as well. And I like to think that CTV could engage, shall we say, a more gamified audience, and that may be a younger audience. It could be, across different SKUs. But, I want to talk about another aspect of CTV. And thank you, Jack, for talking about sort of audio off. But here's one that's, grew out of audio, but now is mostly video, even though people just listen to it more, which is podcasts on CTV. We're seeing a lot of the big guys who are moving in that direction, whether it's Acast or SiriusXM. What are your thoughts in terms of where podcasting goes in terms of the CTV ad world? Because I was at Podcast Movement in Denver last August, and you could really start to see this bubbling up. So I'll throw it to you, Anissa, since you begin with the letter A. If you have some thoughts on different, shall we say, different genres or different pods, yes, that can apply to the CTV growth story.
Sure. I think there's content out there that we haven't even considered to be opportunities on connected television. I think for podcasts, we play around with it in our apps. We program some podcasts in our CTV app to see how it goes. I think personally, I'm a huge podcast fan. I don't watch my podcasts because I use them on the go mostly. But
There you go. Once again, as I
there's
said.
there's overnight television, there's overnight programming. So I think there's a space for it. And do I think it's the future of the content that we'll be seeing on CTV? No, but I do think there'll be a niche for it. And it's something, again, we play around with on our VOD apps for people to have on demand. I don't think it's something that we'll be programming into our FAST channels anytime soon, but you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, Jack, where you land on this in terms of podcasting.
I'm always a big advocate of a media mix, right? So hit people at every piece of their journey. So I don't think there's one ideal solution, although I'm biased towards atmosphere. But yeah, I mean, it's touch people at every part of their journey. So I think podcasts have a huge value. I think marketers need to be smart about the way they use it. I was literally texting my local regional seller this week because I was working out once, like I do once every 6 months, and I had Spotify playing, and there was an audio. It was a video ad playing, so all I could hear was music. I was like, as a guy who's an advertiser, I have to see what this is, and it was for a local university. I said, that's a terrible use of it, right? So just being smart, and again, thinking about, we talk about this, I talk about this ad nauseum. Integrated marketing is really where it's at. I was selling mobile when there was separate mobile teams. I was selling programmatic when there were separate programmatic teams. They all eventually become integrated into one. And that's how I think brands should think about when they look at their agencies, like who's really going to bring me an integrated solution that touches my audience at every piece of their journey during the day, as opposed to everything's so siloed.
Yeah, amen. I mean, you're preaching to the choir for me. I used to find it funny when people who were in radios just said, I can't sell this internet stuff. I'm like, you sold radio, you can sell internet. You're just like, come on, wake up. Right. But yeah, I mean, so Tim, I'm curious where you land on, let's just call them new genres or new pods here. I mean, it doesn't have to be podcasting, but I think that, if we were to do this panel a year from now, there'll probably be other things that we'd be talking about in this CTV ad mix. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are with respect.
Yeah, no, thank you. I was going to add, like, there's the evolution of ad budgets, and I always look at like video is the beauty of connected TV is there's these connected TV native budgets, YouTube and everything else. And then there's online video, OLV in the business, which is moving upstream, right? They're buying cheaper desktop video, but they'd love to get CTV. And, that's where the CPM pressure starts to come. Outstream is a good example. Jack, you talked about the years of mobile. Outstream was suddenly a display ad that could be video, and suddenly on the exchange, the value tripled. So, to draw the CTV parallel, you have the confluence of online video going upstream, you have TV budgets migrating, and then you have your native CTV budgets. But, one step I neglected to mention, we do manage Redbox. It's not CTV. We do have video headers, but, to empathize with Jack, you do have this now classification, which is digital out of home, which is, a separate discussion. When you start to bring in audio, I listen to Sirius, Bloomberg, Howard Stern, whomever it is, it starts to get very compelling. But again, I think it always goes back to, and this goes back to the last century when people were coming online, just conditioning that user. So as a user conditioned to think of, hey, maybe I'm going to see a music video on Spotify, or maybe I'm going to go to Sirius and watch the Billy Joel interview that Howard Stern have and watch Springsteen or whomever. That doesn't happen right away, and it doesn't happen at scale right away, but you can blend that with music videos with Vivo right now if you're a buyer and start to align all the content genre. And if you're looking to buy contextually, right? Or you can start to talk about identifiers and data, again, which are two different parallels, but it's kind of back to the future. I always say,
right,
go to buying prime time or other day parts that are going to deliver.
Well, you said the word day parts. I think that CTV and FAST have brought us back into that just a little bit, which is interesting. And now we're hitting up against question time or Q&A time here in our remaining time. And And I'm going to throw this. Taylor Burns has done an interesting thing of combining questions on the subject of measurement. Who are the main partners leveraged by your advertisers, and what are the most prominent attribution frameworks used? Are these the same for direct and programmatic demand? Are these the same for branding and performance goals? Sorry for 6 questions. So anyone who wants to take that. Jack, you nodded, so I'll let you.
Jack, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I was nodding that that's a great question. But yeah, so obviously it comes up for all of us what measurement is. Our measurement's a little bit different than in-home because ours isn't 1-to-1, 1-to-1.5, whatever the number is. It's 1-to-many. So for us, because we toe that line between CTV and digital out of home, we're at a huge benefit because all the measurement companies are seeing the boon in digital out of home. So how do they make measurement out of home similar to measurement that folks are used to with digital? So we append case studies to everything we do. Shameless plug. But we can show web traffic visits, all the triangulation between IP addresses. We can show obviously foot traffic if you're a brick and mortar. We can show, as we all can, and as we all do quite a bit, is show brand affinity, brand lift. For us, again, because we sit in a different lane, we use all the similar players when it comes to brand lift, the Cantars of the world, the M4s of the world. When it comes to design at home, we use partners like the Creative, who's really coming up with some really nice, interesting ways to track stuff. The Cubics, the Placed, which is, I don't know who Place is on by now. I should know that right now. But the foot traffic, we lean on all those. But yeah, so it's a great question. I think as a marketer, you just have to be really cognizant of what the data sources are to get you that measurement. I'm not sure if in my 20 some odd career I've seen a negative brand lift study. So
well, it probably exists. It's just buried. And there's ways to skew that data, but the outcomes, right? Like somebody saw something, purchased something. That's what the promise of being able to do on CTV is, being able to have that direct outcome. But we also have to be really mindful of, with cookie deprecation and MAID deprecation, those data sets shrink and measurement also becomes less accurate. Right. So
more directional.
Excellent answer. In that I want to award or reward the person who's actually using Q&A. Everyone is putting their questions into chat, which you were told not to do. So I'm going to reward anonymous attendee who has the question, what are we measuring for CTV ad campaign impact? My fear is that the Walmart buy of Vizio will push deals even more toward immediate short-term performance, which shortchanges the true value of advertising, in anonymous attendee's opinion. What do you think about that, Tim?
Well, I mean, it depends on, if the buy side, a lot of times the buy side will implement and measure, and whether the seller knows or not. I was just going to, it's kind of related to what Jack said, but the short answer on the connected TV measurement is yes. I think it's important, that's tongue in cheek, but it depends on the category, right? So, NC Solutions is going to measure ROI with CPG, and they work with Unilever, and they work with P&G and all the big EDOs, the new up-and-comer. They measure entertainment, can measure search results based on exposure to an ad, or close the loop on site visits. Jack mentioned Place, they mentioned in-market was 9th decimal. Again, footfall can get measured with geofencing. So the really cool thing is there is a solution for virtually every category, and it's that specialized. So, the identifier is the key at this point in time. In the worst case scenario, we're still using IP address. Some people complain. I got confidence in device graphs that have over 250 to 300 million users, and they get refreshed. We use TransUnion, but ramp IDs are rampant, pun intended. Ramp IDs next week. Meet you there. And obviously Experian's an original gangster as well. So between them, TransUnion, I kind of look at them as the big three, but there's a lot of new players, and I think that should continue to stimulate measurement, as precise as the buyer wants to get within reason, right? As long as we can.
Thank you. That is great. And thank you for mentioning the big three there as well. I'm going to throw this to Jennifer and Anissa. I'm synthesizing Mark Winiarski's comments and questions. He says he thinks the future is going to be Google Topics. Talk to me about that and what you think in this post-cookie world.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, sure. In terms of Google Topics, how do you mean that? Can you explain what that means, or?
Well, I mean, the whole idea here is again, his point is that there may be some intrusive things that are happening in CTV advertising. I mean, in other words,
got it. No, I got it.
Yeah,
I got it. Yeah, I mean, we're very privacy concerned here at FUBO. We want to maintain the first party data and all the privacy that goes along with it. That's our first priority. But we also want to be able to prove out our audience and all those same research partners. We've partnered with EDA Union. We do Kantar lift studies. So, we strike the balance between being able to have that data and then really prove out the effectiveness of the campaigns.
Yeah, which is super cool. And Anissa, what are your thoughts on that in general?
On the measurement side, I think I'm going to go back to the anonymous attendees question of if we're pushing the goal too far down the purchasing funnel in terms of the advertising. And I think there needs to be a balance of both. You have to have brand building, upper funnel awareness marketing, which Vivo's been sitting and doing a really great job with for the past 15 years. And I think with the combination of some of these lower funnel tactics, like QR codes and Walmart and Vizio connecting, there is a lot more that can happen at the lower funnel and shortening that path to purchase. And so I think to their point, you want to be cognizant of not trying to do only one and having that like I mentioned before, this 2-screen experience of being able to tell a beautiful brand story with your advertising creative and engaging in an incremental audience, which we all talked about. You then can bring in that second screen experience through interactive ads and really drive your consumer through the funnel much faster than maybe you had in the past.
Amen. By the way, for those who are watching and for those who are watching on demand, that was a beautiful synthesis of practically everything we were talking about. Thank you, Anissa. I'm going to give Beth Rosen the shout out. Kind of for the win here. She says, won't there be more real-time data on conversion to purchases with Walmart Vizio? What do you think, Mark?
I think, yeah, that there will be more of that. And I think I looked at Beth's question as well. There was the question of, will it force too much, well, it was anonymous. It said, will force too much short term. I mean, I feel like, yes, there's going to be a lot more, because we're going to have Amazon in this playing field. We're going to have Walmart. They're going to have first party data showing, immediately where people went to the path to purchase. My only concern for that is that, I've been doing this for long enough to know a lot of national advertising, especially the big budget advertising, is about building a brand, and it really isn't about getting an AT&T contract tomorrow or buying Liberty Mutual tomorrow. Even EDO, which I think is a great measurement service. You may not research an insurance company today if your policy doesn't expire for 3 months, but that's the reason that you see a Liberty Mutual, a Progressive, and a Geico ad every 2 minutes, is because they're building a brand. So a lot of the big spending categories, wireless and insurance and autos, are not about the lower funnel metrics necessarily. It's your dealer ads,
right.
Local tri-state dealers who want to get a door swing at the dealership, but Mercedes and Lexus want to build their brand. So that's my concern, is that we're going to have all this great data for the lower funnel, but the purpose of a lot of this advertising, especially the big budgets, is something different.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And we're just about at the bottom here, and there's Steve Nathans-Kelly on cue. Want to thank everyone here: Anissa Stylen, Jennifer Monson, Tim Ware, Mark Lowney, and Jack Mullins. I'm Chris Paff. Steve Nathans-Kelly, thank you. We could have gone on another hour.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you,
Yeah, that's fantastic. All I do is invite the speaker, but you all bring it to life. That was remarkable. But before we go, I do want to congratulate our walk-up music winner. Luke Wu guessed it about 2 seconds after we went online. I didn't even catch that the first time around. The song was 40 Days. The track was 40 Days by Billy Brooks. Congratulations to Luke. You'll be getting an email about your $50 gift card. Thanks to all our speakers. And we will be back in half an hour with a great panel. Mind the App, streaming UX design best practices. So don't miss it. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.